By the end of this video, you'll have a powerful WhatsApp-based AI automation system that will transform how you track your daily tasks and set yourself up for success tomorrow. There's no more scattered to-do lists, no more forgotten tasks. The system will give you the clarity on what you've accomplished today, what needs to be worked on tomorrow, and how well you've adapted to challenges today. Essentially, as an entrepreneur for the past 3 years, I've built hundreds of these automation systems for my own business and other companies. However, staying on top of things always remains a priority. And the system is inspired by productivity principles that I learned from Dr. Jeff Spencer, who is the ultimate champion builder and who has helped athletes with over 40 gold medals and guided entrepreneurs to iconic status. His emphasis on deliberate, consistent action is exactly what this automation helps you achieve. It helps turn daily reflections into predictable success. So in this video, I'm going to go over this system. I'm going to show you more about Dr. Jeff and his 3 lists, and we'll integrate this into our WhatsApp integration and automation. Essentially, when you combine this WhatsApp automation with your favorite AI assistant, you'll be able to speak about your 3 lists that you've completed during the day. There's the completed tasks, the incomplete but known tasks, and the incomplete unknown tasks. And these are what Dr. Jeff speaks about. So here's everything I got done today. Here's what I need to get done and know exactly how to do. And here's what I need to get done, but I don't know exactly how to do it. And with these 3 lists and implementing this along with an adaptability score, you'll be able to automate your end of day recap and the next day planning. So the plan of this video is as follows. So number 1, we're going to set up the software that will make WhatsApp connection a breeze. So the software will allow you to not have to go through the official APIs and all that setup and headaches involved there. It will allow you to just connect WhatsApp and your favorite N810 or Make or whatever no-code tool you're using together very quickly. So that's the first thing. Number 2, we're going to speak about the API docs, API documentations for the system, because there's a lot that you can do, and I'll show you some of the things that I have found to be super useful. Number 3, we're going to be using make.com to set up connection. Number 4, we're going to test incoming messages from WhatsApp to make.com. So WhatsApp to Make. And we'll be using both voice and text to set this up. And number 5, we'll take in these voice and text messages and return 2 lists. We'll return the end of day summary, and we'll also build a to-do list for the next morning. So to-do list for the next day. And this will allow you to, as soon as you wake up, already know how you're going to tackle the day, how you're going to get that first win, and how you're going to keep winning in that day. And this is what I like about the system. Number 1, it takes care of what you've done today, if it's the end of day. And number 2, it makes you ready for that next day. So you can rest easy during the night, you get the sleep that you need. So there's a lot of benefits to the system as well. So that's the plan with this video. So if that sounds good, let's get right into it. And before we do, if you want to download the blueprint that I'll be building for this automation, all you need to do is go to the link in the description. You sign in with your account, whether it's Google or any email account. And once you're in the on the page here, just go to Classroom. You click on the video that will be here, which will be this video. And then once you're in here, you just click the file right here, or go to the file section right here, and you'll be able to download the blueprints that I'll be building for this video. So let's get right into it. The system I'll be using to build this automation is or one of the two applications I'm using is this Unipile right here. So this is a very useful piece of software for connecting a bunch of tools together. Over here, they offer tools that help you connect LinkedIn, WhatsApp, and there are also other APIs as well. So there's Instagram, Messenger, X, you can connect Outlook, you can use like connect other email software as well. So there's a lot that you can do with this. For our purposes, we're going to focus on WhatsApp. So you can essentially drive engagement and ROI with WhatsApp integration. Just a few lines of code, which we're not really going to use anyway. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You just scan the QR code. It will connect WhatsApp to your Unipile account, and then you can send messages and receive messages from Unipile using make.com in our situation. So what I want to point out as well is, in addition to this Unipile dashboard, which we'll look at in a second, over here you have the documentation, which is pretty handy. So you get information about what is Unipile, how to connect. It mentions these two important numbers. So here you have your DSN, where you have this API and the number, and then you have this port number right here. And these are super important because the documentation will use a specific number or specific numbers. In your specific situation, these might be different. So here in the documentation, you have 2 and you have 13248. In my case, I have 2 and 12284. Yeah, so if I were to go with this specific number, I would not be able to connect successfully because I have a different port number in my case. So this is an important gotcha that you must know, because I've spent a lot of time trying to figure that out when I first created my Unipile account. And apart from that, if I go back to the documentation, here there's the API reference. So if I open up these right here, there's a bunch of things that you can do. So for accounts, you can list all accounts, you can connect an account, you can retrieve an account, delete an account. For messaging, which is where we'll be spending the majority of the time, we have list all chats, we have start a new chat, retrieve a chat, list all messages from a chat, send a message in a chat, retrieve a message, list all messages. There's a lot that you can do. So pretty handy, and we'll be using a bunch of these endpoints as well. Over here, if I go to, for example, list all chats, you get the specific information about that endpoint. So this returns a list of chats. Some optional parameters are available to filter the results. And here, you can also kind of build your own inputs and outputs. So if I change this to true, as you saw right here, this changed the request that you'll be able to make. If I set this to 1, this is making the change right here based on the parameters I'm inserting right here. If I set the before and after date, if I put a limit, this is all adjusting the information and the request that I'll be making, which means that I can copy the request, this curl request, and I can literally go into my, if I was to be using, for example, NA10, I can just copy and paste this curl request. But just for the sake of this demo, I'm going to be using make. What else? There's the limit, account type, account ID, and you get information about the type of inputs that you can give the system. So, for example, object is a string and that is required. Items is an array of objects, it's also required. There are also other variables that are not required, like mailbox ID is a string, but it's not required, it's optional. So it's good to have a look at this right here. It's also great that you can test this to see whether it works correctly or not, rather than having to try and do it like in make.com or in NA10 or in your coding tool. You can just test this, you can try it and see if it works directly from their interface, which is super handy when you're building these types of requests. One final thing I'll mention before we jump right in is this base URL here. So here, as I mentioned earlier, you need to use your own subdomain and your own port number, which again, you can find if you go to your dashboard just by looking at this section right here. So if you copy this, you'll get that information that you can then use in your request. Over here, we have the accounts, so I can connect an account right here. And if I click that button, this will prompt me to choose the type of account I want to connect. In my case, I'm going to connect WhatsApp. This will ask me to sign in to my WhatsApp. So there's this QR code, which I'll scan in a second. And once I scan through my WhatsApp on my phone, it will allow me to connect to my WhatsApp right here. So this is like a group that I created for testing. And it will allow me, or it will establish the connection between Unipile and my WhatsApp number. So let me just do that. And once that is established, account is successfully added. So close there. And over here, I have my connection that is running. So I get my number, I get when it was connected, and that's pretty much good to go. Next, I have webhooks. So this is important because there are two types of webhooks that you can set up. The first is a webhook for all the incoming messages on WhatsApp, for example. Alternatively, you can also set up a specific webhook that is dependent on a certain conversation or a specific thing, which is more complicated to set up. In my case, I'm just going to set up a webhook. I'm going to give this a WhatsApp webhook name. I'm going to say this is for messaging, but there are also other types of webhooks: status updates, mailing, mail tracking. Let's just leave this as messaging. And here I'm just going to say the webhook should pick up or should be triggered when there are new messages. I don't want to make it trigger when there are messages read or message reactions. So I'll just leave that as on new message. Let's just leave as all accounts. So currently connected and connected in the future. Hit continue. And here I just need to give it my webhook. So I'm going to go to make.com and create a webhook that will get triggered once I receive a new message on WhatsApp. So here on my make.com instance, I'm just going to create a new webhook. I'm going to add, we're going to give it a name. So let's call it Unipile connection. Let's save, and I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. So that is the webhook that I'll paste into that field right there. So create webhook. And my WhatsApp webhook is connected. So that's great. Which also means that if I were to run this webhook right here and run once, and I go to my WhatsApp and type in a message, this should immediately send the information to Unipile, which then sends the information to make.com. So if I type in test, as you can see, I immediately get the information. And I get this specific information. I get the subject, which will be very important because we'll want to ensure that we're getting only the information from the groups that we want, not just all messages from all conversations on WhatsApp. And we get the message right here. So these are I would say, 2 out of the 3 most important things. What's also important is this chat ID, because it will determine where we'll be sending messages to later as a sort of response back to these messages. So these are important. I'm just going to save this number or copy this number to my clipboard. And I'm also going to copy this so I'll be able to use it in the next couple of modules. Okay, let's zoom out. So what happens next? Essentially what we want is to grab the information that the user has sent and do something with it. Let's just say for now, to keep it simple before we keep building on this, that the message that we get will be text-based, because obviously the user can also send voice messages. So in this case, if it's a text message, we're just going to process that. We're going to pass it along to a GPT. So if I go to OpenAI here and create a completion, I'm just going to give it information about the 3 lists that I mentioned right here. So here I said that I want to, first of all, set up the software to WhatsApp connection, which is done. I'm going to look at the API docs. Okay. I'm going to establish a make.com connection. Great. I'm going to establish a test incoming WhatsApp to make. So we just looked at text. So this is done. And then I'm going to have to list, right? So we're going to create the end of day summary and the to do for the next day. So let's just create the first one first, the end of day summary. And for that, I'm going to put these as empty. I'm going to choose my model. And I'm just going to give it information about Dr. Jeff and his tree list. So if I go back here and let's give it this information. At the end of the day, make tree list before you leave the office. List 1, list 2, and list 3. So let's just give it this information. And let's go back here. Let's add a message. Let's add a system road. And let's just say you are a helpful productivity expert. At the end of the day, a user will give you 3 lists before they leave the office. List number 1. Let's actually use Claude and make this kind of make sense better. A user will give you 3 lists before they leave the office for the day. And I'm going to say, can you turn the above into Markdown so I can pass it along to a large language model to then help me convert my text into these 3 lists. So let's see if we can get Chat or Claude to give us the prompt that we'll be using. At the end of the day, before you leave the office, create these 3 important lists. If you start the day, not exactly what I'm after. I just want you to create a prompt that I can give a large language model to explain what the input I'm going to give it is all about. The model should then return 2 outputs. Let's make it a bit more clear. The first will be a summary of what I got done during the day. The second will be a to-do list to get up and running. The next output will be in JSON. Let's see what we get. So I'll create a prompt. You can give to a large language model that explains the purpose of your input and instructs it to return specific JSON. Great. So context is a productivity system that involves creating 3 lists. Your task: when I share my daily notes, analyze them and organize them in these categories, and create 2 outputs for me. A summary of what I accomplished today, a prioritized to-do list for tomorrow morning based on list 2, as these are the tasks I know how to do. Accomplishment summary, okay. Tomorrow tasks. Not exactly. We're getting there, but not exactly. Okay, let's make this a bit better. So I'm just going to say, not exactly, but we are getting there. So essentially, the user will input a list of the 3 lists that he has done during the day. And what I want is a summary that summarizes everything that the user has done during that day, 4 to 5 sentences. And then based on the things that were not done today and the user knows how to do, and the things that were not done and he doesn't know how to do, I want you to create a kind of like a to-do list for the user to be given the next morning, which is short, snappy, and to the point. Just 2 line items in the JSON output. Okay, let's see what we got here. I will provide you with 3 lists from my day. Things I got done, okay, things I need to do and know exactly, things I need to do but don't know how to do. Good. Your task: create outputs, a concise summary, 4 to 5 sentences, based on list, I don't know, I guess why, based on list 1, based on lists 2 and 3. Okay, gotcha. The summary should also mention or should also, I'll add this. The summary should also provide encouragement for the things that were not done today. So it's not just like great job on what you did. It's also encouragement. It's like if I'm being too hard on myself, that can also be reference. Output format, so I have the day summary. I have tomorrow tasks. Okay. Potentially do I want this to be an array? Yeah, well, let's keep it simple and get 2 items, no worries. Requirements, day summary should be brief but complete. Tomorrow tasks should contain no more than 4 to 5 items total, 2 to 3 tasks from the know how to do. Keep task descriptions short and actionable. Okay, getting there. Okay, we're getting there. Just a few more modifications. First of all, I also want to include the stuff that was not done today in the concise summary, as to be able to provide encouragement for the user. And for the JSON output, I want this to be 2 items, no need for arrays. When it comes to the items to include for the lists, I want you to mention all the things that the user has mentioned when it comes to the things that they need to do tomorrow, because these are important if the user has mentioned them. Okay. Sometimes the voice transcript, need to know for areas when it comes, I don't know. So let's see what the changes look like. So I'll provide you with 3 lists from my day, things I got done today, things I need to do, and things I need to do but don't know how to do. Great. Your task, create 2 outputs, a comprehensive data summary that includes what I accomplished today, what I didn't but plan to. Great. Encouraging words that acknowledge my progress. Great. A complete to-do list for tomorrow that includes all the items from 2 and 3. Great. Output format, JSON object. Great. Daily summary, tomorrow focus. Great. 2 lists, no arrays. Great. Requirements, the day summary should encourage both accomplishments and incomplete tasks. Great. Tomorrow focus should contain exactly 2 high impact items to start my day with. Okay. These focus items should be chosen from list 2 and 3 with preference for items I already know how to do. Okay. Keep the focus items short, specific. For items from list 3, phrase them as concrete first steps. Research solutions. Great. I like this. So if I say I don't know how to do this, this is kind of giving me the action steps to actually do it. So if I say I want to do this but don't know how to, this will say create a plan for doing this or research solutions for this. So there's those kind of action words to spare me into action. So I like that. Okay, so let's copy this. Let's go back to make and let's paste this prompt in. Okay, let's add a message. Let's add the user message, and I'm just going to pass along the message from Unipile, which is this right here. Okay, let's test this out first. So let's save, let's run this once, let's wait for new data, and let's just say something along the lines of today was a great day. I don't know, built an AI automation solution for a plumber or plumber business. I met my friends and I don't know, went to the gym. I didn't manage to start Facebook ads, and it's been a hassle because I don't know how to do that. I was almost started my, let's see, pottery class. I don't know, just coming up with stuff. And I think it will be great because I used to love doing this 2 years ago, whatever. So let's paste that. We got the input right here. And let's see the output that we got. So here, just the first thing I notice is that we have the JSON with the backticks, which we'll need to adjust, but this is the output that we got. I also noticed that I got an array right here, so I'll need to adjust this as well. In terms of the output we got today was highly productive as you successfully built an AI automation solution. Great, spend time with friends, maintain your fitness routine. Good. Although we aren't able to begin the Facebook ads campaign, remember that learning new things can sometimes take time. Great. You're connecting with Pottery is a wonderful step. So keep building momentum and trust in your ability to tackle new challenges with the same determination and success. Okay. Tomorrow focus. Begin learning about Facebook ads by watching tutorials or reading guides. Attend or prepare for your first Pottery class to re-engage with your creative interest. Oh, I mean, I like that. Yeah. Great. So let's make some changes to the output right here. So what I want is remove the JSON and ensure that this is one list. And again, I'm thinking about whether there should be an array, a list, or like one item. If it's, what are the benefits if it's a list? So the idea is that in the morning, I get a message on my phone on WhatsApp, and this will tell me this is what you need to do today. If it's a list, I mean, it can be joined together at the end of the day. It's not a big issue, but yeah, I'd like this to be, oh yeah, let's have it on one line. I don't see the benefit of it being an array at this stage. So let's go back here. I'm just going to grab this and let's just make a few adjustments to the prompt. Okay, now I have the JSON there. Okay, so requirements, let's add another section called roots. And let's just say do not insert that or that in your output. The first output character should be that and the last that. So that's the first thing. What else? Tomorrow focus should be an item, not an array, with the items outputted in the form of one single array in correct JSON. I think that's pretty much it. So let's just hit save. And essentially, if we were to have this kind of be a complete system, the next part would be to send a message to Unipile. Now, if I go here and I type in Unipile, as you can see, this doesn't exist as part of the native tools that are in Make. So we'll need to make an HTTP request. So let's make a request here. And we need to go back to Unipile for this. So if I go here to my dashboard or to list all chats, in this documentation here, we need to go to messaging and essentially we're going to, let's have a look, list all messages, send, start a new chat. Is it started? No, I want to send a message rather than send a chat. Send a message in a chat, that's the one. So this requires the following endpoint to be used. We have the subdomain.unipile.com, we have the port number, we have the chat ID, and we have the /messages. So here, if we're to make this a bit easier, here we're just going to choose the chat ID that we had before, which I think was this one right here. The text will be the response, which we'll send in a second. And account ID is string, we don't need that. Yes, what we need is the base URL here. So if I go to my Unipile here, just going to copy this, go back here, and I can type in my subdomain and port. So the subdomain is API2 and the port is that right there. Okay. So I think I can copy this and we can go back to Make and make this happen. So let's paste all that in, and I just need to make this, make some changes to this. So the endpoint will be that will be the URL we'll need to have a couple of headers. So we have accept and application JSON. We also need to pass along the API key, I believe. Unless this is the API key already included. I'll just need to double check. So this will be a post request. We're going to add the header, which is content type. We're going to add another header, which is accept application JSON. We have form text equals response, which should be a query string. And let me just go back to Unipile. So text is a response. Okay, so this is the response we're going to be sending. So text equals response. So this should be a query string. Text, I think this is what we need to do. Response, which will now be the JSON result actually. So let's just paste in there, and then we'll need to change this because we're going to separate that into two outputs. And yeah, let's have a look. And this, if I were to test this out and run this module once, what I'm hoping is that if I go to my WhatsApp, I get a response right there. Okay, valid HTTP token, header name must be a valid token, content type. Yeah, have an extra colon right there. So let's remove that. Try again, run. Okay, unauthorized, missing credentials. That makes a lot of sense. Let's go back here. And here we need to add the API key from our account. So in this case, access token. Yes, I need to create an access token right here. So generate a token, whatever, give this a name, WhatsApp. Let's give it the scopes it needs, and let's hit generate. So now I get my API token. We need to copy to clipboard and go back to make. So now let's see where we need to include this. If I paste in my API key, I get an additional header, which is this X API key right here. So I can just copy this, and if I go back to make, let's add another header. So the header is called X API key, and the actual key is that right there. So paste, save. Let's run, let's test. And this is still invalid. Okay, let's see. X API key. Let me just copy this. And I'll double check the URL right here. Okay, yeah, there was a missing equal sign that is part of the API key. So let's run this, paste that. Okay, multi-part boundary not found, error bad request. So it might be this maybe. Let's have a look at this. Minus form. Text equals response. So query string text and then response. Okay, let me think. Unless we need to pass this along as in the body. Potentially text equals response. Let's see, we go raw, JSON, and pass along text, test. Let's try this. Let's run this. No. Message, multi-part, boundary not found, error bad request 400. Okay. Let me figure this out and I'll get back to the video. Okay, that was a easy fix. So essentially, the way we need to send the data is through this application form URL encoded. We add the key, which is text, and we add the value right here. So now if I send 12356, hit save and hit run once, I open up my WhatsApp, you can see that I got that response right here. So that is how to send the information to Unipile, which then sends it to WhatsApp. So you need to include that as the body information right here as a application XWWW form URL encoded. So that's pretty much it. And here I'll send the response from ChatGPT. So before we get to that, we need to do a couple of things. First of all is safe. Let's rename this and call it send message to WhatsApp. And over here, I'm going to make a quick adjustments. I'm going to enable show advanced settings at the bottom right here. And I'm also going to get this to output in JSON because I want two types of outputs or two different outputs. So JSON object and parse that, hit save. So now this will output two things. And if I run this once more, so let's hit run once, let's wait for new data. And let's go back to here, type in whatever, let's copy this again. Copy, paste. What I'm going to be sending to the user right here as a response will be this right here, which is the day summary. And I guess I'm in the way here. So today was a productive day. This is what I'm going to be sending to the user. So let me just save that. What I also want is to save the, technically it might be easier to explain like so. So let's add a router. So first, this will be the thing that is sent to the user at the end of the day. Over here, I'm going to save the information from the second part right here. So I'm going to save the tomorrow focus so that the user will get the message the first thing the next morning. So to make that happen, I'm going to save it to Airtable. I'm going to create a record. And here I have a database that I called productivity guy. And I'm going to save the message here. And essentially, this Airtable will have the following. There's a record ID, which will be formula. And I would call this equals record ID. I'm going to have the message, essentially, the date it was created. So let's call this message, which is a long text. I'm going to have a created field or created time. And I guess that's pretty much it. We could also have like send on, I guess, which is the day today plus one. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So send on, which can be a date, which is today plus one. So this will be all data. Here we could also have status if we wanted to, which can be a single select. And the options here might be to be sent and sent. And let's hit create. So here we'll have all data, we'll have today, and then we could have sent, which means that when created, the information will go into all data. When it's today, it will go into today, which will make it easier to send the message to the user on that day. And with sent, it will be the stuff that is sent and is kind of archived. So that's pretty much it. Let's go back here. Let's choose the base, which is called productivity guy. Choose the table. The message will be tomorrow focus from ChatGPT. Send on will be now. I'm going to add days to now, and I'm going to add one. So that will be tomorrow's date. And the status will be to be sent. So let's hit save. That's pretty much the whole flow. So we get the information from the user. We send it to ChatGPT to create the summary of today and the stuff to do tomorrow. We send information to WhatsApp with the summary of today, and we save the information for tomorrow's to-do list in Airtable, which means that tomorrow the user will get that message nice and early, fresh in the morning, which is what will happen right here. Okay, let's align, save, and let's test this out. So if I run this once, I'm going to wait for new data. And in a second, I'm going to make one small modifications to this. So let's paste that in. Because as you can see, I got 4 messages that were waiting in the queue, which were from other chat messages that came through WhatsApp. But anyway, let's ensure this step is working correctly. So here today was a fantastic day. You not only built an AI automation solution, so we got the information from WhatsApp. So this is great. If I look at my table, that productivity guy, I get this information. So for tomorrow, start by setting up Facebook ads. Okay. Potentially, instead of saying for tomorrow, this might or should say for today, because it will be seen on the day that is the next day, right? So it was created on the 5th of March, which is today. So that's great. It will be sent on the 6th of March, which is tomorrow. Great. And the status is to be sent. Perfect. So I like that. A few minor modifications to make this better are the following. First of all, here I need to add a filter where essentially I just want that the what's it called? I think it's called subject. Yes. So the subject must be the group I created, because I don't want this to run for each and every conversation that I have. So if I go back to my WhatsApp, this is called Unipile WhatsApp Chat Grabber. So I can just copy this and paste it in there. So that's the first thing. Now, the thing is, and I ran into this when I was testing this out earlier, with this filter that we built, which is that, right? We're only progressing if this is the Unipile to WhatsApp Chat Grabber. The problem is that once we send information back to this conversation, this will also trigger the automation once more, right? So this will go into a sort of infinite loop where you're sending information to WhatsApp. The system will reply, but for all intents and purposes, that is still going to trigger the webhook once more. So it will keep going, answering itself over and over again, which is obviously what we don't want. So to combat that, what I did is the following. So here, once we send a message to WhatsApp, if we look at the data, and you can also parse this response, so it will be easier to manage. But here we get some information. So we get the object, we get the message ID, and here we have the specific message ID that we are dealing with. What we want is that if the message ID that comes in to our webhook is the same message ID that is sent here, we don't want to move forward. In other words, we only want to move forward if the subject is the WhatsApp chat itself and the message ID is not equal to the one that was sent right here. So we just need to make that modification. So here we'll just put not equal to, and this will be the message ID coming in. And essentially what we need to do is find a way to save that information, to save the information about the message ID that is being sent through Unipile. So there are different ways to do this. We just need to save this somewhere. The easiest way I found to do this would be to use our table here as well. And we can just have a different table, which is just called save info or something like that, where we just have a number or let's call it message ID saved right here. So it can be a single line text. Let's delete these. And what I'm going to do after I send the message to WhatsApp is I'm going to create a record in that new table, which means that then I can read the information from the table immediately here. And if that number matches, I won't progress. So that's pretty much it. So here, let's rename this and say save message ID. And to make that work, I need to parse that information once more. So now I get the parsed information and I get the message ID that I want to save. So here, if I just go to the table called saved info, I can just create a record with that message ID, which is this right here. Let's save. That should be good to go. And finally here, I need to add a module, which should technically be before the filter right here. So, can I always struggle with keeping filters when I'm trying to add a new module. So let's provide our table. Let's search. Let's insert. Okay, great. Delete. So here I'm going to search my productivity guy database. The table is save info. And I'm just going to grab, it should only be one because there should only be one at a time. So let's just put that as one. And now, if I run this once, I should get nothing because I haven't run this, obviously. So let's try this. So let's create or send a message to WhatsApp, which is has sent, which also generates this message ID. So let's copy this. Let's save that so we can test it. So run this, paste that in there, which saved it there. Perfect. Which also means that now, if we run this module, we should get one record, which is this right here. Perfect. Which also finally means that we can say continue if subject is equal to Unipile WhatsApp chat grabber and message ID from the webhook is not equal to the message ID from there. Let's save. Let's auto align, and I think that should be good to go. So now, if I turn this on, I delete all data, and let's leave this running so we can test this out. So let's just paste that in there again, and let's see if we just get one message and that will stop. Okay, great. Perfect. If we were to go back to make and look at the history of this, we get these two runs right here. So there was one as 8:37 and 8:37 and 5 seconds. If we look at the last run here, this is what I wanted to see. So we get the information with the subject is that, the message is the one that WhatsApp generated, and we get the message ID, which should be the same as the one that was saved in our table, which is this right here. Which means that because of the filter we get, this didn't keep on going through. Perfect. One final thing, I need to do is actually delete this right here, because I said only grab one piece of information, right? And there's no point in keeping these anyway. So I want to be able to delete these. So here I'm just going to add a router where I have two options. So if so this is, yes, so this should now be here because I want it to keep going. And then I should have another one, which is if the message ID is the same as the one in our table, just delete the record in our table and stop there. So here I'm just going to copy this. So one is equal to and the other is not equal to. Okay, I can delete this and grab this right here, give it a name. And here is a system message, essentially. So this will allow us to delete that. Let's put this as the fallback. Should it be the fallback? No, it shouldn't be. It should be pretty similar to this, but the message ID is equal to the one from our table. So just changing that. So let's add an end and let's paste these. So Unipile is equal to the subject and the message ID is equal to that. Perfect. So in this case, I'm going to our table and delete a record. The record ID will be the one that comes in from here. Productivity guy. And the table will be save info. The record ID will be that, and hit save. Great. And I think that should be done. So let's test this. We have nothing here. We have these here. So let's go back to WhatsApp. Copy, paste. Oh no, yeah, I pasted the response. Anyway, yeah. So I got that edited this here, the save info. I mean, yeah, this was created and then deleted. So let's just double check that is actually doing what I wanted to do. So if I paste in the plumber thing, this should create a record and then delete it immediately. Yep, perfect. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole system. As I mentioned, there's a lot that you can do with the Unipile API as well. So if I go to this right here, there's a lot that you can do as well. But this is a system that allows you to do the productivity stuff you want to get done. At the end of the day, you get the summary, you get the plan for the next day based on what you said. One thing that I didn't mention that I'm thinking about right now, that I kind of alluded to at the beginning, is what happens if someone sends in a voice message. So let's actually get that done as well. So here I can have, let's run this once. And let's put in a voice message. This is a voice message. So now, if I look at message, this is empty, right? But what I get is this attachment. So I get this attachment ID, which means I have an attachment, which is the voice message in this case. I have the attachment type, which is audio. So you can also filter based on that. So let's have a route that deals with that. So in this case, this will still be the same, right? Because it's from the Unipile thing, it's not equal to that. So it's a user message. However, what I want, if I zoom out a bit here, is to add another route. So let's add a router. And I want to decide whether this is a voice message or a text message. So in this case, the condition is that message, which is this right here, is not empty or message exists. In the case, so this would be a text message. However, I could also have the case where text message does not exist. Wait, text message or attachment actually exists, I guess. So attachment ID, let's say exists. So here I had message exists. No, I don't like that because message will always exist. It's just empty. So let's just say, yeah, maybe we'll go with attachment. So attachment ID does not exist. So let's keep this simple. So this would be text messages, and this would be an audio if attachment exists. So in this case, we need to do a couple of things. We can't just give the information to OpenAI. We need to transcribe first. So we need to use the, first of all, we need to download the message, which here there should be attachment. Yeah, retrieves an attachment from message. So let's use that. And let's do the same thing with the there here. So if I had done here, I copy this API 2.13284, 13284. So that stayed there. Header is still there. Great. The attachment ID will be the information we got from the webhook. So just for testing, let's grab that, paste it in there, and the message ID, the ID of the message to which the attachment is linked. And we also get that right here. So let's just paste that in there. And I think that should be pretty good to go. So we'll get the request information right here. So let's grab this. Let's go back here. Let's make an HTTP request. And let's paste in the information. So this will be get the URL will be this. And I'll change that to variables in a second. We have the X API key. So let's put header and ID. Accept application JSON. And let's clean this up. Just save. Let's go back to Unipile. So here, we need to remove the attachment ID, or we need to make that variable. Okay, so electricity went out just as I was finishing this video. So just trying to finish this with my mobile data. So this is done. So here, as I was saying, we just need to run this once. So we get the attachment and we get the binary data. Then let's use OpenAI and we'll use Whisper to create a transcription, where we're just going to pass along the data from that. So we're just going to pass along the data. Can give it any name, I guess, main.mp3. And let's test this out. So I'm just going to copy this and hit run, paste in that data. Not sure that would work actually. Can we just not give that a name? Response format JSON, file name and extension. So the error was invalid file format. Why? MP3. Okay, it's weird. Run. That might be the actual transcript data, but let's run. Okay, let's run this once. That's hello, this is a voice message. And see what happens. Okay, great. So this is a voice message. So we get the transcription there. And then we can create the same thing right here. So we can duplicate that and just passing along the information from the transcription rather than the message input, which we had in this upper route. So here, let's just change the message to this is a voice message. And that should do the same thing as we had before. So that's pretty much it. Let's auto align this, and I'll also export this so that will be available for download. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. Although I finished with my UPS beeping and about to go like power off in a second. Hope you found this useful. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe as well and do all the fancy YouTube stuff. And yeah, let me know if you found this useful and what you'd like to see next. I'll speak to you in the next video. Cheers.